Here's a look at Houston getting ready over the offseason, putting in some work in the weight room. 17 players returning from last season. They'll open up against Texas Tech. Rene, this is a team. They returned their quarterback and Clayton Tune. We didn't really get a chance last year to really know this team. I mean, so many games canceled. And what do you expect out of the Cougars?
Yeah, that really hurt this team last year, the starting and stopping. I think Clayton Tune can never really get into a rhythm or a flow. I think now they have a spring practice behind them, getting ready for fall camp. Again, I think they're in a good position to win some games and do what we expected Dana Holgorsen to do when he got there a couple years ago.
Speaking of coach, let's bring in Dana Holgorsen. Thanks so much for joining us, Coach. I had several of your games last year, and it was just such kind of a mess with the schedule. Having had spring ball, having had a new year, how much more reinvigorated are you to start off this season?
Wow, pretty excited about it. That's everybody's excited this time of the year. We were excited going into last year. I thought we made a lot of strides from year one to year two. We sat here and you guys mentioned, I think there were upwards of about 8 games were canceled. So never really got into a rhythm. We were at full strength, for probably the first 2 games, and it never quite regrouped after that. So, but that's water under the bridge. I think we learned a lot from it. Our team learned a lot from it. Our coaching staff learned a lot from it. Our schedule kind of sets up a little bit better this year. We're not behind the 8 ball the entire year like we have been the first 2 years. So excited about getting this year going.
All right, we'll get started with questions. We're going to go first to Joseph Duarte from the Houston Chronicle, please.
Hey, good morning, Dana.
Hello, how are you?
Good. Hey, you kind of touched on it, but I was just wondering your thoughts just going into this year, maybe the different vibe around the program, and specifically when you look at your roster now with some of the additions you made in the offseason, how you feel about where your numbers are starting to get as you go into year 3.
Yeah, much better. We're like I mentioned, we're excited about going into last year. I thought we had made some strides and was ready to compete, and we lined up and we did compete. But just another year better. Got a lot of starters back, got a lot of depth back. There's going to be a lot of guys that have started a lot of games here the last couple of years that are going to be fighting for starting jobs, and that's competition, and that's the kind of way we want it. So, vibe's good. Overall health of the team and the program's good. So, looking forward to getting started Friday morning.
We'll go next to Mark Berman from KRIV TV in Houston, please.
Dana, how you doing? You've got I've lost maybe 15 games now with Clayton over 2 years. How much does that help the quarterback-coach relationship, the time you've had together going into this next season?
Yeah, year 3 for a quarterback is usually when they turn the corner, my experience with that. So, Clayton's got a lot of snaps under his belt. He's got a lot of reps logged in practice and in games now. So, that should pay off, just the way that I call plays and how familiar he is with how things are getting signaled to him and what our expectations are. I'm not doing a very good job coaching if he's not better year 3. So, I think we're on track. He had a great spring, and the rapport he has with the receivers is much better. We have to be better in front of him for him to be better. I've stated that for 2 straight years now. We've had, I think, 20 different offensive line combinations in 20 games. So we finally got to a point where we got depth, we got experience. Those guys got to be consistent. Those guys got to gel, and those guys got to do their job. And it's hard for a quarterback to do that when he knows guys in front of him are a little deficient. We've been deficient in front for the first couple of years, but Brandon Jones has made a lot of progress, and we have a lot of bodies that one, they need to remain healthy. 2, they need to improve. 3, they need to compete for playing time. And when we do have unfortunate injuries happen, we can plug people in that have experience and not put people in there that aren't ready to play. So that plays a big part in how that quarterback plays.
We'll take the next question from James Muller from the Cougar, please.
Yeah, Dana, speaking about the defensive line, you sort of raved about how the depth you've grown in the spring, and just going off losing a guy like Peyton Turner, who's a game changer, but one guy you talked about that really impressed you over the spring was Logan Hall. Can you just talk about what makes him a special player and sort of the development you've seen from him and what you expect from him in this season?
Well, I was happy that PT, ended up, being a first rounder, but we only had him for about 3 games last year. So we learned to play without him for the remaining 70% of the season last year. So people forget that. Logan's just kind of coming into his own. We got a lot of experience on the defensive line right now, not just Logan Hall coming into his own, but Derek Parrish has got a ton of snaps at defensive end. David Anini's got a lot of snaps at defensive end. One guy that kind of started to stand out there towards the end of spring was Latrell Bankson at nose guard. So, who's got Division I experience and a lot of playing time, and is an older, mature guy as well. So, same thing that kind of talked about on the O line. Now we got a lot of depth on the D line, and we got guys that are competing and for playing time. And those guys, we like to rotate those guys a good bit. So when you rotate them, the next group's got to be able to go in there and play as well. But it's the same it's the same thing that I said about the O line. You got to have depth, and you got to have guys that run there, compete for playing time, and we got that at this point.
We'll go next to Chris Vanini from The Athletic, please.
Yeah, Dana, obviously conference realignment is a popular topic right now. You used to be at West Virginia. Now you're at Houston, which is brought up for a lot of things. What do you just kind of make of that whole situation?
Well, I don't have any insight, if that's what you're asking. I don't think anybody really does at this point. It's going to be a little bit of a work in progress. It is fairly ironic that, when I was at West Virginia was pretty much in the Big East, which is now kind of a combination of which is really the American, which was, Conference USA and the remaining of the Big East, and saw that transition happen. I think Houston's positioned themselves where I think anybody would be happy to have them. But we're happy being where we're at right now. This conference, the American, is incredibly tough. The games and the teams that we've played here for the first 2 years, I'd put up against anybody. The conference is strong. The teams are strong. I don't see a whole lot of difference in where we're at right now and what the other conferences are like. And I can say that based on being in the Big 12 for 15 years. So, realignment's happening. I think we all know that. Where it's headed, I don't think anybody knows.
We'll go next to Dan Tortora with Wake Up Call DT, please.
Coach, kind of going off of that, being at West Virginia, what are your thoughts? As you said, realignment is happening. It's going to occur. Would you imagine a world where West Virginia goes and joins some of the schools that they had in the Big East and the ACC, and just how you kind of take all this now looking on the outside of the Big 12?
Well, I can't speak for where they're at right now, but when I took this job at Houston, I knew that Houston was always going to be in the conversation no matter what. Houston's has great leadership with Rene Couture, with Tillman Fertitta as our chair, Chris Pesman as our athletic director. Our student body enrollment's upwards of about 72 to 73,000. Our academics are Tier 1 status. We're building a medical school. Our other sports programs are doing great. Football's been in New Year's Six Bowl in the past and will be there again. So Houston will be in that conversation is the only thing that I can say.
And then as far as the college football playoff expansion, your thoughts on 12 and what that means for the American?
Yeah, it's a no-brainer to me. I mean, I've always felt like it was a no-brainer. I'm not going to go as far as my buddy Mike Leach says, where we got to get 64 teams and have a massive playoff. But 12 makes sense. I've said 16 makes sense to me. I worry about what that would do to some of the bowl games out there. But 12 is, what's been proposed, and we support that. Houston supports that. The last head coaches meeting I was on in the American supports that. Just makes sense. What other sport, what other division, what other anything, basically lines up in the beginning of the year and has no chance of making the playoffs? I mean, really, our sport's the only one that exists out there. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and I think we need to change it.
Thanks, Coach. I appreciate it.
We'll go back to Joseph Duarte from the Houston Chronicle, please.
Dana, I got a scheduling question for you. Would you be interested in an international game for Houston, or do you like those type of games?
It's been brought up. Pez did it when he was at Cal. You know, they went to Australia, and he's a big fan of it. I'd have to look into it and research it. You know, how much it would take out of our team is something that I would have to look into very closely. If the travel would set us back and we had to play 6 days later or whatever, I don't know if I'd be a big fan of that. But if you built it in, you know, and you had like 2 weeks to recover, you know, and you played on week 0, I think it's only a matter of time before everybody plays on week 0. I don't know why we wouldn't. There's nothing going on week 0, so you might as well play on that day. Build in more bye weeks, you know, to be able to rest and recover. Yeah, we would entertain it. Just where it is and who we play and how much rest time and how much money we make, I think would play a big factor in that.
We'll take the next one from Dayon Dunlap from Max Sports, please.
Coach Dana, as fall camp and the season gets underway, what's the next step from the football program entirety that you feel you guys need to make?
Pretty much win games. We'll put that at the top of the list. You know, I don't know. We got, you know, there's a lot of things that we need to do from a program perspective, and we're chipping away at all that. But you know, just lining up and continuing to improve, and you know, the end result is you got to turn those things into wins. So it's a fairly broad question. I will answer with the big, you got to win games.
Take the next one from Mark Berman, please.
You just come back to me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Mark Berman.
Hey, Dana, can you talk about Marcus Jones, your expectations for him, and the potential of you using him on both sides of the ball?
That's a question you like to answer, Mark, or you like to ask that one. You and JD both are fairly fascinated with that. If it was that easy, here's what I've said, and Derek Parrish fits into this conversation as well. They're both capable of playing either offense or defense. I've coached for 25 plus years and never had anybody be able to do it, you know, so there's just not many people that can do that. So whether we can do that, whether he can handle that, I don't know yet. I mean, we got to practice it and we got to get out there and see if it fits in with what we're going to do. And most importantly, can they handle that? Marcus is a special player. You know, I've coached some pretty good punt returners. You know, Wes Welker had the all-time touchdown record at one point. But the way Marcus tracks it and immediately gets it upfield earned him first-team All-American status as a punt returner. It's pretty special. So he's obviously pretty good with the ball in his hands. You know, he's you know, one of the best cover guys in the country as well. So yeah, he can play defense, he can cover, he can catch it, he can return it. Now whether we can handle that and find time to practice it on the other side, we'll see what happens.
We'll go next to Billy Embody with 24/7 Sports, please.
Hey, Dana, looking at the transfer portal, you know, especially in this conference, how much more competitive has it gotten as the word has gotten out about using it? And is there anything with NIL that you guys have tried to do to separate your guys' selves with pitches? I know you guys can't organize things, but just, you know, trying to help these players use NIL as well.
Are you trying to get me to admit that we're doing things to break NCAA rules to get us in trouble before we even started the season? I guess, huh? Yeah, the NIL rules are the NIL rules. You know, we can't do anything about that. So whatever our players choose to do is what our players choose to do. I think the league was pretty tough before the transfer portal opened up. You know, 2 years ago, the transfer portal was not a thing, and we played, I believe it was 7 ranked teams that year. You know, I think the American had 5 or 6 that were ranked throughout the course of that season. So, you know, the American was fine prior to the transfer portal. This is a tough league. You know, and it's not just one team that's dominating the league. It's been 4 or 5 different teams over the course of the last 5 or 6 years. So, you know, parity, transfer portal. Yeah, we're going to use it. I used it at the previous place that I was at. Not the portal, obviously, but transfers in general. That's going to become a part of how we recruit, and that's going to become a part of how I think pretty much everybody recruits. So has it made the league stronger? Possibly. We'll wait and see how these guys play.
We'll go to Trace Trilko, Sons of UCF, for the next question, please.
Coach, as training camp gets underway, what's your team's vaccination percentage, and what do you think of the league's position that games impacted by COVID will not be rescheduled and, in fact, may be forfeited?
Oh, I think it's going to be a wait and see how this thing goes all year. I don't think we're out of the woods on it right now, to be honest with you, just looking at some of the other sports and things that have happened in Major League Baseball and what's currently happening in the NFL. I don't know what our vaccination rate is. At one point it was around 70%, but you know, I know we had one yesterday and we got another one coming up. Hopefully some guys take advantage of that. You know, I support it because it puts you in the best position to be able to coach and the best position to be able to play. I don't think there's anybody quite questioning that. So not much we can do. Can't make them do it. I do support the league. You can't just sit there and keep doing what we did last year and postpone games and try to get a season in. You know, so if you're able to play, you need to play, and if you can't, then you need to take the forfeit and move on to the next week.
And we'll go to James Muller from the Cougar for the final question.
Yeah, Dana, earlier in the spring, you talked about how this 2021 season was really important just for the football program at Houston to do its part in terms of all the other athletic success that the universities experienced. Have you felt that sense of urgency from your guys in the locker room that, you know, this is the year we need to really take that step forward? I know you've talked about the vibes a little, but just like, have you felt that sense of urgency from the team? Yeah, I really have felt that. I think our team is older and more mature. I believe this is the oldest team that I've had, you know, you know, a lot of experience, but guys just are older in the they've been here, they've been through it with me for the last 3 years. You know, last year was a big year, and people said last year didn't count. Well, I guarantee you last year did count. The record is what the record is. But we did make progress in year 2, and I do believe that we're going to make progress in year 3. But having older guys, you know, like 2 of the guys that are coming up here right now, and Clayton Tune and Marcus Jones, guys are older, they're mature, they've played a lot. They're good players, and I believe they feel, you know, a sense of urgency to get out there and win some ball games in 2021.
Coach, thank you so much for joining us. Looking forward to seeing you guys start things off September 4th against Texas Tech.
You betcha. Thank y'all.
See you, Coach. Back in our studio, Rene Ingoglia. Dana Holgorsen's in mid-season form with the sarcasm. Got to win. Yeah. But it is year 3. How is this team set up to win more in what we saw the first 2 years?
I just think the experience. You know, when 3 years ago when Dana Holgorsen came from West Virginia to Houston, I thought that was a big deal for the conference. And, you know, you see bigger programs have been taking coaches from this conference. Now, quote-unquote, big-time coaches are coming to this conference. So I think this is the year for Houston to make a splash. I think last year, yes, it counted, but it was just kind of a setback for everybody. And so I think they persevered through that. I think Clayton Tune's going to be so much better. And he talked about the transfer portal, how he's added pieces, and they got a lot of experience. So look out for Houston this year.
He was asked about Marcus Jones, so we will see here coming up. Great defensive player, punt returner as well. As a guy who played, how hard would that be to be able to play both sides?
I mean, the last true two-way player, I'm dating myself, is a guy by the name of Gordy Lockbaum. He did it at Holy Cross in the 80s, and he legitimately played safety and running back. And so, like he said, it's to legitimately play it full-time. It's virtually impossible. You can sprinkle him in here and there and have a package, but Marcus Jones is going to touch the ball in the return game because he's arguably the best returner in the nation. So he's going to have his hands on the ball.
For Clayton Tune, who we'll see here in just a second, his 3rd year, but really could be like his first full season. didn't start 2 years ago. Last year only played 8 games. To be able to get the keys to the offense and look at an entire year, how much more room for development is there for him?
A lot. I mean, last year was just so choppy, no flow, no rhythm to the season. Spring ball under him, a full fall here. He's going to be in good position.
Well, speaking of those guys, let's join Marcus Jones and Clayton Tune, the student athletes now joining us from Houston as we let the media ask them some questions. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Kris. We'll take the first question from Joseph Duarte with the Houston Chronicle, please.
Hey, Clayton, I wanted to just jump right in with NIL and you being the quarterback. Have you done anything in terms of the NIL and branding this summer, or do you have plans to sort of pursue any of that?
Not too much. I've tried to keep the main thing, which is football. But I think the NIL is a great opportunity, and I think, moving forward, once we're, in the middle of the season and we're winning games and we're 4-0, 5-0, then yeah, I think I'll probably pursue some opportunities.
Gotcha.
We'll go next to Mark Berman, KRIV-TV in Houston, please.
I'd like to ask both guys a question. First of all, Clayton, Dana talked about year 3 with a quarterback and a head coach. Usually when that quarterback turns a corner and if you're not better, he's not doing a very good job coaching. How do you view the time you've had with Dana so far, and how much can that help you going into this season?
It's been awesome. It's been crucial to learn, under him the last 2 years. In 2019, I kind of got thrown in and got some valuable snaps and playing time. And, like y'all said earlier, in 2020, it was kind of a choppy season. We never got into a rhythm, but nonetheless, it was great playing time and great experience, just getting snaps under my belt. So, it's going to be awesome, playing a full season, like you said, getting the keys to the offense and being able to operate for a full season is going to be awesome. And I plan to meet a lot with Dana, Coach Holgerson, and Coach Dawson, and, really get this thing rolling and prepare myself to play as well as I can this season.
Marcus, is there any extra pressure on you with all the attention that you've got in preseason? You made a bunch of watch lists, preseason All-American teams. I mean, there's a lot of focus on you, what you can do as a defensive player and as a return specialist. How do you look at all that?
Honestly, I don't feel any pressure at all because basically I had that mindset to control what you can control. So I don't really worry about all the other things. I'm thankful for it and all the watch lists and stuff like that, but my mindset control what you can control.
We'll go next to James Muller from the Cougar, please.
Yeah, Marcus, you've certainly proven your skill on the football field, but a lot of stuff you've talked about recently with us has been, your music career. I was just wondering, you just released an album, I think. Can you just talk a little bit more about that and just how you sort of balance those two passions with football and music? And
usually on the weekends, I'll do some stuff with my music, honestly. During the season, I'm not really going to have a lot of time. So usually I make sure on the weekends I'll do a little music thing, but I'll end up having an album dropping on September 10th.
We'll go next to Dan Tortora, please, from Wake Up Call DT.
Clayton, for you, just what you could say with the abbreviated season last year and all the starts and stops. I know it was hard to get into a rhythm as you had stated, but what you saw on film from yourself as quarterback and how you're improving moving forward. And then Marcus, for you, just leading the nation as far as, being a punt return specialist, what comes after that this season?
Yeah, like I said earlier, last year it was great to log those snaps and reps, and I felt like I progressed as a player and we progressed as a team. So it's going to be awesome moving forward and being able to build on that and really improving and there were some things that I watched that I learned about myself, and I just plan on improving on those things and really getting into a rhythm and having as much success as I can and as the team can. So it's going to be awesome.
Basically going off what you asked, I'm thankful for, all the things that happened last year, but last year's last year. So kind of this year is all about like Coach Holgerson said, earning wins, with my brothers, because we worked hard this off season. with competing with each other, getting closer as a team. So we're all about winning, and we want to win the conference championship.
And Clayton, you spoke about name, image, and likeness a little bit, but just what both of you think about this opportunity that has never been provided for student athletes before.
I think it's a great opportunity. I think it's long overdue, but it's it's a great opportunity, and I think there's going to be a lot of players that, get creative with the ways that they market themselves and market their brand and other companies and whatnot. So I think it's a great opportunity. I'm going to pursue it the best and smartest way I know how, and I know Marcus is doing a great job already. So it's a great opportunity. I'll let him speak on it a little bit.
Like Tune said, great opportunity for players to be able to, market themselves and learn basically the business side while in college, because most people would brand right whenever they get out of college. But, if you learn those ins and outs while you're in college, but know how to manage those things such as playing ball, which is ball first, but then also marketing yourself after, I feel like it'll help them with longevity at the end.
Thanks, guys.
Back to Joseph Duarte of the Houston Chronicle, please.
Yeah, for both of you guys, Dana in his segment sort of discussed some of the how the locker room feels about this season and the sense of urgency after the last couple of years. Clayton first, how do you feel about this season in terms of maybe needing to respond and have a good season after the struggles of the last two?
Yeah, I think everybody's just kind of sick of kind of the stuff that we've been through and sick of not winning as many games as we know we can and as we should. So I feel like there's a different vibe in the locker room, different vibe about all the players and the coaches and everyone involved in the program. So, I wouldn't say our back's against the wall, but I think people are kind of ready to scratch and claw and fight for wins and the wins that we know we can win and deserve to win. So.
What about you, Marcus?
To go off that, all those hard off-season workouts that we've been doing, all of those hard practices and the heat and everything, we know what we are basically capable of. So we just gotta work together, stay on the right track, have our mindset right, and just basically do what we gotta do because we know what we're capable of, and basically, win the conference championship.
If I can do a quick follow-up, Clayton, you've got two guys behind you fighting for the backup job. Anything that you've shared this camp with them in terms of getting those guys, experience, some reps to be ready if they need to be?
Yeah, first off, I like to lead by example and kind of show them how to do it. And I try to focus on doing everything the best way I know how and kind of displaying that to them. And then, obviously we'll meet together and go over plays and concepts and certain ways to handle situations. But yeah, I think those guys behind me are doing a great job. And, I think when the time comes for them, I think they'll be ready. So.
Thanks.
Okay, we'll take the final question from James Muller from the Cougar, please.
Yeah, Clayton, you've talked about just evolving, as a quarterback in year 3, and this year you have some new younger faces in the receiving corps. Can you just talk about how you go about, creating that chemistry with them and really gelling so that when the opener comes around that you'll be ready and you guys can have that chemistry that you want in terms of you and your receivers?
Right. So, during the week we'll throw as quarterbacks and receivers and running backs and tight ends, whatever. We'll throw during the week, and then on our own time, like on Saturdays, we'll all come up and throw and continue to build that timing and that chemistry and that rapport with all the guys. And it's been good. The allotted time that we have during the week has been really good, but I think the best work that we get is when we go on our own on Saturdays and throw, and then afterwards get to hang out and build a relationship outside of football, which I think is really important.
Thank you so much, guys, for joining us. Looking forward to seeing you guys against Texas Tech here on September 4th.
Yeah, thanks for having us.